is Charles Wright and this is my case study video. On 28th of March 2013, a brick wall at a building development site collapsed, killing 2 people and critically injuring another, which led to her death. So after this, it leads to some questions about what actually happened. There were a few reasons that the wall is said to have collapsed, mainly being that the wall was of poor construction and outdated. And the actual reason for the wall collapsing was a billboard on the wall that stood up over the edge of the wall that acted as a sail as gusts came through the city, causing the already weakened structure to collapse. When the wall collapsed, it landed on 3 people, killing 2 instantly, a brother and a sister, and it landed on another, which led to her death. State and federal authorities became involved, mainly being the Victoria Police and WorkSafe Victoria. The reason the police had to be involved was to make sure that there were no instances of criminal activity, the fact there needed to be a coroner's report, and to provide any supporting evidence to other investigations. The reason WorkSafe became involved was to make sure there were no breaches in the OHS Act and to lay any charges towards any parties responsible and to prevent this happening in the future. The thing that needed to be asked next was who was ethically and legally responsible for the incident. Ethically, the person responsible was the person that actually decided to put up the boarding that caused the wall to collapse. Legal responsibility belonged to the owner of the company, Grocon, a man by the name of Daniel Grollo. Once responsibility had been identified, they needed to know what the charges were to be levelled against the company. Currently, the inquest from the coroner's court into the deaths of the civilians has been put on hold, and if the company is found guilty, they will be facing fines of up to $9 million from WorkSafe Victoria for the deaths. On top of any OHS breaches, the company could be facing legal action from the families of the deceased, as well as any criminal charges that may be released as soon as the coroner's report is released. The next question that needs to be asked is how can we stop this from ever occurring again? After an accident of such significance, there would be investigations into whether or not current OHS legislature is up to the standard that it needs to be. Ways to prevent these tragedies from happening in the future could be having pathways cleared from the distance of any structures that could collapse over a certain height. Another way would be to increase the frequency of mandatory site safety surveys to make sure that everything is up to standard at every time in the building's development. Another, and perhaps the most effective way, would be provide a safety contractor sponsored by the government or even set up by the government to identify and set up the safety of work sites.
Created using Powtoon.